Greetings, welcome back to Black Bear News, where we are discussing climate change, abrupt climate change, and things adjacent. Thank you always for joining me. As usual, lots to cover. So I just said yesterday that they are trying to find a way to get rid of AOC, and boom, I woke up this morning and I think this story has just come out today or maybe in the last day or two. Ocasio-Cortez Chief of Staff's campaign finance funneling controversy grows. So this article happens to be from Breitbart. It's not because I read Breitbart. It's just one of the sources of this news story that came up when I hit the Google search. But of course, it's on Breitbart. Chief of Staff for Representative AOC Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Sakat Chakrabarti, is under growing scrutiny for funneling more than $1 million in campaign donations to corporations he owned in 2016 and 2017. First reported by the Washington Examiner and then other conservative outlets, the Washington Post followed up with a report Tuesday that said that the arrangement was a sharp juxtaposition with Ocasio-Cortez's calls for transparency in politics, noting that the Congresswoman has called dark money the enemy of democracy. So I'm not really going to go deep into this, but and I don't know. Obviously, this is a breaking story. So, but this is, they're doing their best to prove that she's a hypocrite. She's, not who she says she is. I mean, they've really been trying to do that on the right for a while, but let's see how far this story goes. But they're going to do everything in their power to disgrace her, to get her to go away, to make her voice null and void. They're going to do everything that they can. That is happening. Moving on to some, extreme climate things. Where are we? Oh dear. Somewhere in here. It wasn't that far down. Here we go. Nope, that wasn't it. Here we go. What a great thing if I had like an in-studio tech, person. Not that big of an operation yet, but whatever. I need a wonderful panel of guests and a tech person, and there we go. This is from Imogen. This is actually from a few days ago, but I forgot to read this. This is a recent thing. I don't know if it's still ongoing, but flash floods in Afghanistan. At least 20 people were killed by flash floods in southern Afghanistan's Kandahar province, the UN said Saturday, as heavy rains swept away homes and vehicles and potentially damaged thousands of houses. The United Nations Office for Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs said widespread flooding inundated Kandahar city and surrounding districts in the province, with 97 millimeters of rain falling in affected areas in the last 30 hours. At least 10 people, including children, are still missing, said the UN agency in a statement. It is anticipated that up to 2,000 homes may have been damaged, with severe damage to infrastructure also being reported. Kandahar's Deputy Governor Abdul Hanan Monib said the flooding was the worst in at least 7 years, with many nomadic herders camped in the area swept away by floodwaters along with their livestock. The official added that 400 families have been rescued by the Afghan army since the flooding began late Friday night. Rescue operations, however, were largely delayed due to heavy rainfall. Razik Shirzai, the provincial commander of the Afghan Air Force, told AFP, disasters such as avalanches and flash floods often hit mountainous areas and river valleys of Afghanistan as the snow melts in the spring and summer. it has been made worse by deforestation. Heavy snowfall across large swaths of Afghanistan this winter has raised fears of severe flooding as spring approaches. Again, floods, wildfires, droughts, heat waves. And in California, we have had pretty much nonstop rain for the last 16, 18 hours. We have a huge storm coming through. California faces flood risk, burying mountain snow as atmospheric river returns. This is from today. As a storm taps into the atmospheric river, the risk for flooding and heavy mountain snow will continue across parts of California into Wednesday. Rain spread over the state on Tuesday, with the steadiest and heaviest rain arriving Tuesday night. Additional bouts of heavy rain will continue into Wednesday night. While most of California outside of the mountains can receive some rain from the storm, the heaviest rain will target only some areas as opposed to being fairly uniform across the state. The bands of heavy rain will be more progressive on Wednesday when compared to Tuesday. That will result in inconsistent rain totals. For a time on Wednesday, heavy rain will focus on the Los Angeles basin to the lower slopes of the southern Sierra Nevada. According to AccuWeather senior meteorologist Alex Sosnowski, secondary band of heavy rain will extend from near and just south of San Francisco to Sacramento and the lower slopes of the northern Sierra Nevada, with the rain hitting heavily populated areas of Los Angeles, Sacramento, and San Francisco. The risk of flash and urban flooding will be significantly higher than it has been with this storm so far. Sosnowski added the drenching rainfall will also reach into the rural portions of the San Joaquin and Sacramento valleys. Yeah, we've had some flooding here, and it's just been a mess, a big old fat mess. But it looks to continue on and on and on. The rain keeps on coming. On and on, the rain will say how fragile we are. Do you all know what lyrics to what song that is? Extra credit points for the person that can give me that in the comments. Yeah, we're supposed to get, oh geez. More rain and more rain and more rain, apparently. Moving on. Excuse me. Also, another extreme weather event that I didn't get a chance to cover. There were some crazy tornadoes in Alabama. 23 people killed in the nation's deadliest tornado in nearly 6 years came into focus Tuesday. Aftermath, Alabama's tornado dead range in age from 6 to 89. The youngest victim was 6. The oldest, 89. Relatives said one extended family lost 10 members. The 23 people killed in the nation's deadliest tornado in nearly 6 years came into focus Tuesday with the release of their names by the coroner. They included 6-year-old Armando Hernandez Jr., known as AJ, torn from his father's arms 2 days after singing in his first grade class musical. 10-year-old Taylor Thornton, who loved horses and was visiting a friend's home when the twister struck, and Jimmy Lee Jones, 89, who perished along with his wife of 6 decades, Mary Louise, and one of their sons. Just keep those families in your prayers, Lee County Coroner Bill Harris said 2 days after the disaster. Search for victims' pets and belongings in and around the devastated rural community of Beauregard continued among the din of beeping heavy machinery and whining chainsaws. But Sheriff Jay Jones said the list of the missing had shrunk from dozens to just 7 or 8. We've got piles of rubble that we are searching just to make sure, said Opelika Fire Chief Byron Prather Jr. We don't think we'll find anybody there, but we don't want to leave any stone unturned. This tornado was an EF4 with winds estimated at 170 miles per hour, carved a path of destruction up to 9/10 of a mile wide in Alabama, scraping up the earth in a phenomenon known as ground rowing. The National Weather Service said it traveled a remarkable 70 miles or so through Alabama and Georgia, where it caused more damage. 90 people were injured. In the Beauregard area, authorities said most have been released from the hospital. Crazy pictures. Just devastation. Some more extreme weather in Europe. There's been a few storms going on. Storm Fria battered France with strong winds and rain into Monday, and another storm has already arrived. The storm, which has been named Laura by Spain's meteorological agency, will be more far-reaching as locations from France to Spain and Portugal endured downpours into Wednesday night. Downpours impacted all of Portugal and northwestern Spain Tuesday night, enhancing the risk for localized flooding. Rain tapered off in these areas on Wednesday. However, rainfall of 1 to 3 inches or 25 to 75 millimeters was common from central Portugal to northwest Spain. While conditions began to improve in Portugal and northwest Spain, by Wednesday afternoon, downpours spread eastward across much of the remainder of the Iberian Peninsula. Soaking rain fell across Madrid Wednesday morning. Yeah, there's been some snowstorms in Ireland. Just people getting munched all over. It has already been a very volatile winter weather-wise. We've just had enormous storms, polar vortexes, winter flooding in the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere, drought, heat waves, and wildfires, just battering everybody. I want to quickly say thank you all for dropping all the links that you do in the comment section. There's just so much for me to, so much information for me to scoop up and relay. It's really hard for me to do it, relay all of it. Like all the information I get in the comment section that I could, read or relay in my videos, it would take me, I could spend 5 or 6 hours worth of video doing that every single day. So there's a lot of information. I see most of it. I can only talk about some of it, but keep it coming, y'all. Thank you. I appreciate it. There is more than enough to tell us that, the problems are real and they are accelerating. So I'm going to move into some other kind of wider scope articles. So in a couple of good news things, someone linked me this. AMLO in Mexico cancels a gold mine to protect water and improve tourism. So a good thing and a bad thing all at the same time. But, I guess his heart's in the right place. Mexican President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador canceled a gold mine project called Los Cardones in Baja California province on Sunday. The mine, located at one of the main aquifers of the southern area of Baja California, was a threat to local water sources, according to Lopez Obrador. The announcement was made during an event that marked the beginning of a project for urban improvement of 15 cities and tourist destinations such as Los Cabos, Acapulco, Vallarta, and Bahia de Banderas. AMLO took the opportunity to highlight the importance of preserving the environment in order to develop a sustainable tourism model. The time for decisions has come, and I want to address the Southern Baja California people to say no to this mine. Why not? Because we have to safeguard the paradise, not destroy it. We have to safeguard the environment. And if the people are making a living out of tourism economy, then we have to take care of the environment. And if we want to have water sources, we have to preserve the underground water. So yeah, that's great. Someone else in the comments was talking about some other, more progressive things that he's been involved with. And, the joke in the following comments was he's going to have to get some freedom from President Trump pretty soon. No doubt. I mean, if they go too wild. Actually, Mexico has some socialist programs that we don't have. I believe they have free education and higher education. I'm not so sure about healthcare, although they have much cheaper healthcare, and a lot of Americans go to Mexico to get healthcare because it's totally and completely unaffordable here. Even if you have insurance, you still cannot afford it. So people, take planes down to Mexico to go have operations or treatments or whatever it is they need, and it's like a quarter of the cost. Mexico, that supposedly very poor, backward nation that everybody's trying to leave to come here for the opportunities. Okay. There is quite a bit of crime, though, in Mexico. There's quite a bit of corruption. There's quite a bit of, cartel criminality, and so it's a dangerous place to be for sure. In some places. Moving on to, but I want to talk about AMLO more. I'm going to do a little research on him and what he's doing, because it's interesting because there is along with the growing populist right movement around the world, there is an actual progressive movement happening as well. There's Jeremy Corbyn in England, AMLO in Mexico. There is, there's Maduro in Venezuela, and there's Bernie Sanders / AOC / all the other progressives in the United States. And we really need to get us some of that progressivism. I'm going to just kind of touch on this article from Truth Out. Moderate Democrats are really conservatives, and they are dangerous. I've been saying this, and William Rivers Pitt is going to tell us a little more about this. This is from yesterday. If I hear the word moderate used one more time to describe blue dog House Democrats who keep voting with Republicans, or any other non-Republican who actually actively supports today's Republican Party, it is entirely possible I will eat my teeth. The term blue dog is a metaphor for a dog straining so hard on its leash that it has turned blue from lack of oxygen. That sounds like my dog. The dog is a right-leaning Democrat, and the leash represents its tenuous party affiliation. These people are conservatives, period, end of file, who hide behind the moderate label even as they undermine policies Democrats have hewed to for half a century. They are able to do this thanks in no small part to the committed care and feeding of the big paper, big network reporters, editorialists, and producers, many of whom haven't entertained a new idea since Windows 3.1 was the hot new thing. A recent spirited meeting of House Democrats gave these media types yet another chance to strut their fog-bound stuff, even as they gave cover to their moderate friends who, if you believe the mainstream stenographers out there, have it all figured out. Their fallback tactic is ease. Inaccurate labeling stands in substitution for analysis because it is easier. Tropes outmatch facts because they are easier, and lies from important people who are not simply allowed to stand, but to flourish. Why? Because it is easier. House Democrats exploded in recriminations Thursday over moderates bucking the party, with liberal Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez threatening to put those voting with Republicans on a list for a primary challenge. Reads the opening line of last week's Fabrific febrific Washington Post article on the Democrats' meeting, only the most recent example of the practice. There are 137 words in the first 4 paragraphs of that thoroughly frantic report, a bunch of which clearly strive to become lit sticks of dynamite in the next life. Exploded, moderates bucking the party, threatening, on a list, primary challenge, frustrated, lashed out, pressured, unquestioned media superstar, upped the ante, admonishing, liberal activists, unseat, on a list again, would that I had pearls to clutch. Unquestioned media superstar takes the biscuit in paragraph 3, however. The term refers to Representative AOC while simultaneously dismissing her intelligence, skills, passion, wit, will, political savvy by turning her into another bit of TV fluff that will only be popular until the next big hot minute celebrity comes along. She is bigger than that by many long miles, and those who can't or won't acknowledge that are setting themselves up for one hell of a surprise. Indeed, that is very true. I agree. The more the media bites, the more she and those who support her will bite back. And that's more of the public than they realize or want to. What was this House Democrats meeting about anyways? Why were Democrats exploding over moderates' behavior? The meeting centered around the use and misuse of a legislative maneuver called a motion to recommit. It allows the minority party to add amendments to a bill just before it is brought to a vote. The rule exists to keep the majority party from wielding unlimited legislative power. And it is something each party protects for the day when they find themselves in the minority. Ever since Democrats took control of the House, Republicans have been using the rule to stick abrasive nonsense amendments to important bills. On Wednesday, reports Paul Blessed for Splinter News, the House passed a major gun control bill that is sure to die in the Senate, but which laid down an important marker for the party's priorities. Before that, however, a Republican amendment to the bill that would notify ICE when an undocumented person buys a gun was offered up and shockingly passed, due in part to the votes of 26 House Democrats, many of them members of the conservative Blue Dog Coalition caucus. This wasn't a trade for bipartisanship. Only 8 Republicans voted for the final bill itself. 26 Democrats just gave them a racist amendment for free. Speaker Pelosi, who ran the explosive meeting, was in high dudgeon, and for a good reason. In the 8 years the GOP held the majority in the chamber, the Democrats were unable to pass a single motion to recommit because there were never enough Republican votes to help them do it. Since January, and because these blue dog moderates, minority House Republicans have already managed to get 2 stapled to legislation. Vote no, admonished Pelosi. Just vote no, because the fact is a vote yes is to give leverage to the other side. AOC wasn't messing around either when activists asked her why she had to vote for a gun safety bill that allows for that also further empowers an agency that forcibly injects kids with psychotropic drugs. Said AOC spokesman Corbin Trent about the meeting described in the Washington Post article, they're going to want a list of names and she's going to give it to them. At the conclusion of the meeting, Representative AOC herself said, I think it is an extension of Trump's tactics into the House, and we cannot legitimize it. We cannot allow for it, and we cannot support it. In the meantime, can we please dispense with the notion that these blue dog types are moderates? If they vote with conservatives, they are conservatives. Yeah, the Democratic Party is an absolute travesty right now. It's a mess. We basically have 2 factions of 2 right-wing parties. One is just slightly less right, and the other one is way right. And then within the slightly less right party, we have some progressives trying to say like, hey, let's actually be on the left. And they're like, what are you talking about? Why would we want to do that? We might lose elections. Okay, so I had another kind of good news article that I forgot to read before that one. And this is from the World Economic Forum, or weforum.org. Kenya is aiming to be powered entirely by green energy by 2020. By 2020. Kenya's president has announced plans to move the country to 100% green energy by 2020 as it scales up renewable investments. With an eye on sustainable development, President Uhuru Kenyatta aims to help mitigate climate change by reducing Kenya's carbon footprint while creating much-needed jobs. The move comes as the country looks to triple the number of people connected to its power grid to reach 60% of the population. Currently, 70% of the nation's installed electricity capacity comes from renewable energy sources, which is more than 3 times the global average. The transition to fully renewable energy could further boost the population's access to national power grid and reduce manufacturing production costs. Kenya has invested heavily in geothermal power generation, which supplies low-cost, low-emissions energy. According to the Renewables 2018 Global Status Report, the nation ranks 9th in the world for its geothermal power generating capacity, 700 megawatts. Africa's largest single wind power facility is currently being developed at Lake Turkana in Kenya's Rift Valley, with separate investments to develop other wind power plants. An estimated 9 million Kenyan households have access to off-grid renewable energy, and this figure is set to rise. Speaking at a recent Paris Peace Forum in France, President Kenyatta called on Europe and other industrialized economies to recognize and support his nation's investment in green energy. Kenya co-hosted the Sustainable Blue Economy Conference with Canada and Japan, held in November. As the cost of renewable energy falls, more nations are committing to carbon-free energy generation. Improved governmental policy support for the renewables is also paving the way for continued global growth in the sector. According to the International Energy Agency, IEA data, the 2 clean energy sources with the biggest global growth are solar power, which is expanding faster than all other renewables combined, and wind power. China leads the way in absolute solar PV capacity and is projected to hold almost 40% of the world's installed solar capacity by 2023. China. It is followed by the US, while third placed India is expected to increase its solar capacity 4-fold in the same time frame. Global investment in wind power reached $160 billion in 2017. Spain has committed to switching its electricity generating sector to fully renewable sources by 2050, which is a really long way away, with a further goal of fully decarbonizing its economy shortly after. Anyways, this is great. Hey, I know Kenya's, a small nation and a developing nation, but good on them. Let them, be an example. Of, doing it without fossil fuels. And I'm going to read one more article. Don't know how long this is. Probably not too long. So this is from the blog Lokis Revenge, which I've read from before. And this is titled Ecological Policy Failure Equals Humanity's Greatest Mistake. And this is from March 4th, 2019. Human ecology, filling the world with plastic 5G IoT bugs will destroy humanity and nature. Data is an infinite self-perpetuating accelerating feedback loop. It eats its own tail. We have to refocus data valuation to make carbon inverse to credit. I don't want to swear an oath of allegiance to my Warren Buffett IoT razor every morning before I work. I don't like dogs smarter than me, never mind my fridge. 100% private carbon dividends means 0% for corporations, NGOs, and governments, both left and right. Emissions went up 60% since corporations, NGOs, and governments been fixing climate, so fuck them losers. There's no time for leftist victory fantasies of the very old and very rich. This is not a game. The reason no one talks about climate is because it's about money. Ding, ding, ding. The top 20% of earners emit 70% of emissions. The war for socialism is 100 years old. It is fought by very old, very rich people. Socialism is a word old people use to prey upon the young. Never trust anyone over 30. Double that for 60. I'm 61. 135 peer-reviewed scientific studies and reports showing effects of EMF exposure on male fertility. PFAS equals male infertility plus smaller penis size equals nonstick frying pans and raincoats. PFAS equals most Western men will be infertile by 2060. PFAS equals forever chemicals in drinking water. Male feminization affects all vertebrates. Understanding the big energy picture. China is building 400 nuclear plants between 2010 and 2050. Whoa. Whoa, if that's true. I mean, I'm assuming it's true. China is building 700 coal plants in South Asia and Africa. Again, whoa. China has recently cut solar panel production in half. Really? I thought they had the most solar. Anyways, corporations, NGOs, and governments have been fixing the climate for 30 years. Solar wind is only 6% of world electrical demand after 30 years. But solar wind is only 1% of the world's total energy demand after 30 years. During that 30 years, emissions went up 60%. All the world's energy demand growth is in South Asia and Africa. Electric vehicles will have zero impact on the climate. Every 32 months, India's energy growth equals all the energy used in Canada, who is the highest energy hog per capita on Earth. There is nothing that Euro-America can do to change the climate. This is because all the world's population and energy growth is in South Asia and Africa. Most Euro-American men will be sterile by 2050. 50% of Europe's renewable energy comes from burning trees. Yeah, and we've talked about that and how absolutely insane that is. It is impossible to scale up batteries to suit world energy demand. Even if Euro-America reached 100% solar wind power by 2050, it will not stop climate change. South Asia and Africa will decide Earth's fate, not Euro-America. Suggested reading, Energy and Civilization, A History by Vaclav Smil. Dropping sperm counts, mobile devices, and EMF. This is just a whole list of links y'all can check out. I will try to check out some of them. Dropping sperm counts, mobile devices, and EMF radiation. 135 peer-reviewed scientific studies and reports showing significant effects of EMF exposure on male fertility. 166 peer-reviewed studies now show a direct link between EMF exposures and prenatal effects. 71 studies and articles showing effects of EMFs and the initiation and promotion of breast cancer. New studies link cell phone radiation with cancer. Cancer expert declares cell phone and wireless radiation as carcinogenic to humans. Mobile phone cancer warning as malignant brain tumors double. Brain tumor rates are rising in the U.S., the role of the cell phone and cordless phone use. 5G wireless technology, millimeter wave health effects. Ooh, I'm going to check that out. Hold on. Oh, darn. If anybody knows anything about, hold on. Always code your links so they open in a new tab. That's just a rule. Aggressive brain tumors tell a story. Electromagnetic fields are defined as a pollutant by insurance companies and often require special coverage. Really? DNA damage of lymphocytes in volunteers after 4 hours of use of mobile phone. Cell towers and your health. CDC issues precautionary health warnings about cell phone radiation. Brain tumor risk in relation to mobile telephone use. See, they never really list these things on, you never see these these articles in the Washington Post or the Huffington Post. Like I never see this stuff for a reason, right? They don't want to tell people about this could be really, really harmful for you sitting there looking at your computer or your phone. Children and wireless facts or FAQs. Sorry, you know what I'm saying. Children face higher health risk from cell phones. Meta-analysis shows near doubling of the risk of head tumors induced by long-term mobile phone. Cell phones breaking the blood-brain barrier. Exposure to 900 megahertz electromagnetic fields causes cognitive impairment. Apparently, it's causing impairment in me. Dr. Leif Salford on the blood-brain barrier. Cell phones in the Swedish brain cancer. Maybe they're talking about, maybe he meant cancer. Mobile phone radiation causes brain tumors and should be classified as a probable human carcinogen. 5 billion people now have a mobile phone connection. Could your phone harm your health? FCC cell phone radiation exposure limits. Cell phones specific absorption rate. Data suggests that regulation of testosterone is controlled by MEL and that MEL is more sensitive to RF exposure. Wi-Fi is an important threat to human health. Electromagnetic fields and public health. Low-intensity radio frequency radiation, a new oxidant for living cells. I'm almost done with this list. Radiation warnings. Rise in glioblastoma, multiform brain tumors in England, 1995 to 2015. Deborah Davis on radiation dangers. Impact of radio frequency radiation on DNA. A brief history of cell phone safety studies. Whoa, lots and lots of links to read in there, guys. I'm going to link this below. If some of you intrepid viewers get to actually read those whole articles, like have a synopsis or even just a comment or two, let me know. I'm probably only going to have time to like skim through maybe one or two of those, if at all. That's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for your eyes, your ears, and your conscience. If you would like to support this channel, you can do so at the links below. Until next time, peace.